Hi, my name is Ren, and today we'll be making homemade tofu using the Tikka tofu mold and organic low-waste ingredients kits. And I want to start off by saying that even if homemade tofu looks intimidating, it is super easy to make, really difficult to mess up, and in this video we'll be working step by step through every single part of the process. So by the end, you'll be able to make tofu with any flavor you'd like, and firmness ranging from medium firm all the way to extra or super firm. So let's begin. Let's start by making sure you have everything you need ready to go. We'll start with the Tikka tofu mold. This is a rice bowl or way to enjoy your tofu on top. Inside, you can store the weight or the press, which will enable you to press down on your tofu. And finally, the base, into which you'll ladle your curds. We'll get into that later. For this process, you'll need a coagulant. This here is nigari or magnesium chloride. It's a traditional form of coagulating your tofu, but you can use lemon juice or apple cider vinegar. Of course, you need your dry soybeans. These are organic dry soybeans packaged in compostable packaging. And finally, 2 cheesecloths for the straining process. You'll need a blender, a large stock pot, a mesh strainer, a small sieve. This is a chinoise, which means it has finer mesh, but any mesh strainer will work. And finally, a spatula. Then you're ready to go. Let's get cooking. Measure out 2 cups of dry soybeans into a large bowl. Rinse the soybeans until the water runs clear, and then fill the bowl with water. And this doesn't need to be precise, just add anywhere between 2 to 3 times as much water as there are beans in order to leave space for your beans to expand as they soak. Leave your beans to soak anywhere between 8 to 12 hours. You'll know your beans are ready to go when they split apart easily in your fingers. You can see here the husk comes off. You can leave all of those in. Some recipes call to remove them, but they're fine to leave in. Once your beans are fully rehydrated, give them another rinse until the water runs clear. Again, you'll find the little soybean husks as you wash, but those are just fine to leave in with the rest of your soybeans. Once the water runs clear, replace your soybeans in the large bowl and go ahead and clean off your strainer, which we'll be using in the next step. You're now ready to turn the beans into raw soy milk, but quick PSA, raw soy is not edible, so do not drink the soy milk, do not eat the fibrous pulp until you have cooked them. And back to the tofu, prepare your straining setup, place a large colander over your large stock pot and dampen 2 cheesecloths. Fold your first cheesecloth over twice so that it's a smaller square and place it down on the colander. Then take your second cheesecloth and lay it down as one single layer with the colander centered in the middle. Fold each corner in to the center point. You want to layer the edges over each other to effectively make a 2-layer cheesecloth. Your straining setup's ready now, so it's time to blend the beans. Fill up your blender to about the halfway point with beans. You can do as many rounds of blending as you want, it all depends on the size of your blender. What matters here is getting the right consistency of your blended mix. You're looking for 1 part soybeans to 2 part water. So if your blender's halfway full of beans, fill it up to the top with water. This does not need to be exact, you can't really mess this up. If it's too thick and a little difficult to strain, just add more water and reblend, and it doesn't matter if it's on the thinner side. Blend your beans until they're a smooth and creamy consistency, and there's no such thing as overblending here. It's in fact better than underblending. Pour your mixture into your straining setup, ensuring that the cheesecloth does not fall down as you do so. If you like, you can go ahead and blend the second part of your beans, but I do recommend straining in 2 batches, otherwise it gets a bit unwieldy. Now when you're ready to strain, carefully gather all edges of this top cheesecloth layer. You're looking to create a cheesecloth bag of sorts. So this first cheesecloth strains out most of the okara, and the cheesecloth layered below catches any of the okara that may have escaped during this process. So once you have your cheesecloth bag, gather it at the neck below any of the points where the okara could escape, and you'll begin the active straining process. An effective way to do this is to combine twisting the full bag and gathering little pieces of it and squeezing them out. Now the more soy milk you squeeze out here, the larger your tofu block will be. So don't be shy with the squeezing. And again, this is not a part you can mess up. If you don't squeeze out as much soy milk as perhaps you could, it just means you'll have a slightly smaller block of tofu. You'll know you're reaching the end when that fibrous pulp starts to come out of the cheesecloth. This is okara, which will actually save. So give it a few more squeezes from here. You want to get it to the point where just a few drops are coming out with each squeeze. And you'll see that even more of the fibrous pulp is starting to poke through. We'll now remove the okara in preparation for the next round of straining. So gently unwind your cheesecloth and place it carefully back on your straining setup. slowly unfold the different layers, and it's okay if your okara kind of gets everywhere at this point. We'll have many opportunities to clean. And you can gently start to pick out the okara and set it aside. I find it effective to take a hold of each of the ends of the cheesecloth and kind of pull them such that the okara comes off. At this point, you'll have a bunch of okara left in the middle of your cheesecloth, and here you can form it into a ball for easy removal. I like to use the cheesecloth to do so. Once you're done, set aside the okara and prepare for the next round of straining. Replace the corners back into that 2-layered square that we had done before, with the edges overlapping. And I just want to say it's okay if you get some okara into your soy milk below. It really won't have that much of an effect. You'll then repeat this process as many times as you need to get through all of your beans and bean mixture. And save the okara or fibrous pulp for use in other recipes. It's really high in dietary fiber and really great for things like pancakes, vegan meatballs, you name it. Once you've worked through all of the mixture, you can set aside your first cheesecloth in a bowl to wash later, and then strain out the bottom cheesecloth as well. That 4-layered cheesecloth still contains some okara. Set it aside with the rest of the okara, as we'll address it in a moment, and I like to give my workspace a little cleanup. You'll then add more water to your raw soy milk. Now to repeat, do not drink your soy milk at this stage. This soy milk is not edible until you boil it. Okay, back to the tofu making. It is critical that you add this water because if the soy milk is too concentrated, it has a much higher likelihood of scalding when it's on the stove. So add the same amount of water essentially that you use to blend the beans, and with 2 dry cups of soybeans, this is about 8 more cups of water. Place it on the stove, turn it up to a medium-high heat, and we'll wait for that to come up to a boil. This takes somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes, and when it does come to a boil, you'll need to be there at the stove to manage it, but in the meantime, we can take care of a few other tasks. And these steps are not critical in the tofu making process, but I'll take the time now to show you. First is how to clean your cheesecloth, next how to process your okara, and finally how to prepare your flavoring if you'd like flavored tofu. Starting with how to clean your cheesecloth, place your 4-layered cheesecloth in the bowl where your other cheesecloth is, take out the okara, there is a little bit left. Then you're ready to clean your cheesecloths, which you can do right in the sink. First get the little bits off and then use a mild soap. To sanitize further, boil them and make sure you hang them until they're fully dry. And next we'll process the okara. Remember that the okara cannot be eaten until it's been cooked, so this is a good opportunity to take care of that now. Put a pan on the stove on medium heat and place your okara in the pan and just cook it until the moisture starts to cook off. You'll see it steam and you'll watch the texture slowly start to become crumbly. Meanwhile, keep an eye on your soy milk because it's definitely starting to get closer to that boiling point. And finally, if you'd like to flavor your tofu, you can prepare that now. This is 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon ground coriander, 1 teaspoon granulated garlic, and 1/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper. And you can get creative with your flavorings, just make sure you avoid acid and nutritional yeast which affect the coagulation. Prepare your bowl into which you'll place the soy milk. And don't forget to check on your okara and soy milk, of course. When soy milk hits its boiling point, it foams up very rapidly. You can see this in real time. Once it starts to do so, move it off the heat and stir so that the bubbles go back down. It's not the end of the world if your soy milk boils over, but it does cause a bit of a mess, so best to avoid it. After it hits its boiling point, turn it down to low or medium low and let it simmer for 10 to 15 more minutes, stirring occasionally. During this time, we'll continue on with flavoring our tofu if you've chosen to go that route. So scoop about 1 cup of your boiled soy milk into a bowl. Add your spices to this bowl of soy milk and stir until all of the clumps are gone. You want to make sure that this mixture is entirely smooth so that it can blend in nicely with the soy milk that's in your larger stock pot. Add it in and give it a stir in order to incorporate fully. And as your soy milk goes to that 10 to 15 minute simmering period, you can store your okara. Remember that uncooked okara lasts about 1 to 2 days in the fridge, cooked lasts about 2 to 3, and you can always freeze it. Continue to stir your soy milk occasionally. If you don't, you may find that a skin has formed on top. This is yuba, and it's actually a delicious chef's treat. If you don't want to eat it then, you can simply stir it right back into your soy milk. It won't negatively affect the coagulation. Now you're ready to prepare your coagulant. This here is nagari or magnesium chloride. Warm up about 2/3 cup of water and place your coagulant, whether it's nigari or the lemon juice, into your warm water. Stir it up, and then it's ready to go. Now it's time to form your tofu curds. Remove your soy milk from off of the heat, and we'll begin to add in the coagulant. Add in the coagulant in 3 parts, stirring very minimally, otherwise the curds will break up. So this first part, just 1/3 at a time, and give it a stir in a Z shape. Again, pour in another 1/3, and stir it in a Z shape. You'll likely already start to see curds forming here. And again, critical point is to not stir too much, otherwise the curds will break up. Add in your final 1/3 of coagulant and give it one last Z-shape stir. While you can't undo over stirring it, it's okay if you do understir it. It just means the coagulant needs to be spread out a little bit further. This is what it looks like when it has been understirred. You'll see that it still looks a lot like soy milk, just maybe with a little bit of curdling. So to fix that, gently press down on the edges of the tofu mass. This soy milk here, gently press down in order to let that clear tofu whey, that liquid with the coagulant, combine with the soy milk areas. You can see right away it starts to coagulate. And do this process as many times as you need until your entire stock pot is fully coagulated. This means that the tofu curds are entirely separate from the tofu whey, that clear liquid. Now you're ready to form your block of tofu. First, prepare your tofu mold. Liquid strains out of the bottom, so you'll need to place something underneath to catch the liquid. Casserole dishes tend to work pretty well for this. Then line your mold with a damp cheesecloth. You can use the same foil layered one as before. Make sure that it is all the way up to the edges inside the base. And now you're ready to transfer your tofu curds into your tofu mold. Here for my sieve, I'm using a chinoise, which has very fine mesh, but really any will work. This is your opportunity now to customize the firmness of your tofu. So here we're making some medium firm tofu, so I'm pressing out some of the water, but definitely retaining a lot. Now the more water in your tofu, the softer it will be. If you're looking for extra or almost super firm tofu, you'll want to press out as much water as you can. When you ladle your tofu curds into your tofu mold, try to fill all the way to the edges of your tofu mold. This way you'll have a nice smooth outside of your tofu block. This is really only something that affects the aesthetic of your tofu. It does not affect the firmness or the flavor. You can see here in this sped up video that the tofu is still decreasing in size after I've put it into the tofu mold because the water continues to drain. Now the liquid that's left behind is called tofu whey, and it can be saved for a variety of uses. The simplest being a soup broth base, and more complex, becoming a coagulant in itself once it's been fermented. If you do choose to save the tofu whey, be sure to strain out any of the last tofu curds, which you can then place into your tofu mold. Once all your tofu curds are in, fold over your cheesecloth such that all the sides are covered. From there, place the weight on top and press it down. You can see the tofu whey from the curds has already started to pool up in the liquid basin, so you can pour it out into the sink very carefully, ladle it out, whichever you choose to do. Make sure you do not drop your tofu mold. Now it's time to let your tofu sit and form. You can place a can on top to increase the weight. Let it sit for anywhere between 15 minutes to 3 hours, simply depending on your desired firmness. And at a minimum of 15 minutes later, your tofu is ready to go. Carefully pull your tofu out of the tofu mold using the cheesecloth, unwrap it, and there you go, your freshly made tofu. To firm it up more, you can place it into a bowl of cold water for 10 minutes. This also removes any bitterness from the coagulants that have been left over. If you don't taste bitterness and you like it just as it is, this medium firm or firm texture, whichever you've achieved, you can enjoy it right away. Fresh tofu lasts anywhere between 3 and 4 days in the fridge, and if you're not going to eat it in time, you can always pop it in the freezer, where it gains a slightly different texture that's great for marinating and for sauces. If you've chosen to leave your tofu plain, you can always add in a salty taste by boiling it in salt water before using. So that's how to make homemade tofu, which also leaves you with okara and tofu whey to play with. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, come check us out at tikako.com, where we sell handmade ceramic tofu molds and low-waste organic ingredients kits. Happy tofu making!